It's a Formula One car! It's a bloody foe! I have dreamed of this moment for about 2.5 months. Hello one and all, welcome to Seen Through Glass. Welcome back, my Ferrari 360. I haven't seen this thing since well before the UK lockdown, so I'm so excited to be reunited with it. 2020 was supposed to be our year. Me and my Ferrari going on massive adventures. Think Mille Miglia, Monaco Grand Prix, Le Mans, Goodwood Festival of Speed, Monterey Car Week. You think of it, we were going to be there. But anyway, such is life. That doesn't mean that exciting things aren't already happening with this car and going to still happen in the future. Let me explain a little more by heading round the back. Ever since I bought this car over 2.5 years ago now, I've spoken about one modification I felt I had to try and do, and that was to fit an OEM Ferrari Challenge Stradale exhaust. You'll know the Challenge Stradale, one of my dream cars, but arguably one of the best sounding cars ever made. And considering it shares the same engine and many of the same components as my Modena, I thought, why can't I make them sound the same? Ooh, that's a 765 LT. That's a 765 LT. Ooh, guess I'm not the only one working today. McLaren clearly testing out some cars. Sounded meaty. Anyway, what was I saying? Considering that my car shares so many of the same components as a CS, I thought, why couldn't I get it to sound the same? And actually, back in the day, Ferrari themselves released a thing called a 360 race exhaust, which was essentially a Challenge style exhaust for the 360 Modena. However, coming across those turned out to be as difficult as an actual OEM CS exhaust, both of them nearly impossible to find. In fact, it's taken me over 2.5 years to find one. And there we go, I just revealed the big secret. I have found one, and in fact, this car has now got a Challenge Stradale exhaust fitted to it. I mean, before I pleasure you in some of the greatest exhaust audio ever, it's not the only work that's actually been done to this car, because I dropped it off at AV Engineering just before lockdown happened, hence why I haven't seen it for so long. But now that the government have sort of slightly eased some areas and I'm able to get back to work as long as I'm sort of safe and practice a bit of social distancing, I was able to get down to AV to pick up this car and get Aldous to explain some of the other work he's been doing.
So the first thing we did is we changed the mass airflow sensors. And the reason we changed the mass airflow sensors is for a couple of reasons. First of all, because we've got no record of them being changed in the 5 years that I've known this car. And secondly, that they're the primary sensor input for the fueling for the engine. And we've changed those because we've changed the fueling. One of the things we've been doing is working with Trevor, whose car you drove in one of your previous videos, and he's developed this software that allows us to interrogate the engine ECUs as if we were the original Bosch programmers. So what we've been able to do is to put together an engine map specifically for your car, and it's actually better and goes further than anything else we've done before. You don't actually get much power with this. You know, we're probably running about 430 brake horsepower, and it was 395, 396 new. What we're talking about here is changing it so that it feels a lot more involving when you're driving. So most 360 owners will notice that you only get the best out of the car when you're in the upper rev ranges. When you're down below, so 3,000 RPM, not really much is happening. It doesn't matter what you do with the throttle, it's just not really going anywhere. Well, all that's changed. And it doesn't matter what gear you're in, it doesn't matter what speed you're doing, you mash the throttle down and this car's going to take off. We don't apply these type of maps to engines that we don't know and engines that we haven't timed up. So in the previous video, then when you were down here, I was explaining about how we adjust the engine timing so that it's to the factory spec. And if we're happy, then we will apply these maps. If we've got a car, and there's a few cars in the workshop here where we haven't done that, we can just apply straight Challenge Stradale map that's been recalibrated to work with the standard mass airflow sensors. because as people will know, Challenge Stradale has got much bigger airflow sensors, and you can't just write the map onto the ECU, which won't work. So we've recalibrated for that, and then we can offer that to people. But where we know the engine, where we've timed it up, we can just go that a little bit further, and you're somewhere between the Challenge Stradale and the Challenge race car. And the Challenge race car has always been our sort of boundaries of where we're going to go, because we know we can run them up to 50,000 miles between rebuilds, and they're running right at the upper end of the rev limits constantly. So we're confident that we've got reliability, but also with a great improvement in drivability.
So then, are you ready for this? Let's do it. I'm speechless. I am so speechless. I picked this car up yesterday and I drove it back to London so slowly and so carefully because I didn't want to have my first experience of all the changes off camera. I wanted to wait so I could do this. I'm a bit scared. I'm legit a bit scared. Okay, woosah-san. Let me try and compute everything that's going on. Firstly, windows down, because that noise. I actually think it's more aggressive than a Challenge Stradale. I don't know how that's possible. Oh, in fact, I think I do know how that's possible, but it does sound more like a Challenge. It's so aggressive and sharp and all the time. Oh my god, my heart is racing so fast. But over and above all of that, the responsiveness, I'm losing my voice, the responsiveness of the throttle pedal, the way this thing goes through the rev, I mean, it is so alert, like any gear. It wants to just go, and I know that's what Aldous was saying, that you're really going to pick up on the fact that there's no delay now between that throttle pedal and actual action, power, response. And he's so right. It's transformed this car. Okay, look, I'm not kidding anyone, not kidding myself. It's not a Challenge Stradale. It is still a 360 Modena, but I'm going to come out and say it. I think it could be the best 360 Modena ever. Aldous said it's one of the best cars he's ever been able to work on in terms of the state of the engine. He's just set it up so perfectly now, and with this ECU tune, it's just next level. Oh my god, there was like a crack or a burble from the exhaust. No joke, I just heard a burble from the exhaust. Oh, don't get me wrong, this car's always been fantastic in my mind, always been great to drive, but it feels like a truly special Ferrari now. And of course, whilst we might have a little bit more horsepower than a CS, we still have the additional weight, so it's not track focused, but as a car to drive on the road, I want to find a tunnel. Where on earth am I going to find a tunnel? I have no idea. I'm in a 40 zone, so I'm just taking it a bit easy, waiting for the roads to open up again. I need to put the windows down because that's when you get the true shoutiness of this exhaust. Just hear it there, waiting. It's just coiled up. It's a Ferrari. It's a proper Ferrari. Oh, why? Why is it now that all this work has been done just when I can't take this car anywhere further than Surrey? Okay, national speed limits. Let's do this again. It's a Formula One car! It's a bloody oh! And it just keeps going. One thing that Aldous didn't mention on camera is he's extended the rev limiter to 9,000 RPM now. No longer the 8,250 or 8,500 that it was. That's why I keep looking at the rev range just to be like, where do I shift? Boys and girls, if you have a 360, take it to AV Engineering, get them to do this tune. Oh! I mean, I think some of my excitement is just being out and driving again, and can I just clarify, this is work for me. I know I'm having a huge amount of fun, but this is for me work, and I'm trying as hard as I can to isolate and socially distance and try and find quiet areas to park up away from people. And when I went down to visit Aldous, I stayed very far away from him, as you probably saw in the camera shot, but oh, this is perfection. And last year, you may remember, I actually drove a manual Challenge Stradale in America. But at the time, I said, like, something's not quite right with this car, where it feels amazing and I love every second of it, but it doesn't feel as, like, aggressive as a CS. And Aldous and Ed at AV Engineering reckoned that probably that car was running Modena software, Modena ECU, because they're really the first people who've been able to kind of manipulate the Challenge Stradale and the Challenge ECU and apply it to Modena. So maybe that's why there was something missing. This is now a hybrid in between that manual Challenge Stradale, an actual Challenge Stradale, a Challenge car, a Modena. Oh, I'm not sure there's anything else I need to do this car. Maybe now, apart from the brakes, I feel like maybe I need to step up the brakes because this feels quick. Oh, I need a tunnel! Well, no tunnel, that will just have to be another video, probably with Paul Wallace in tow. But I think it's fairly obvious to say that I'm ecstatic with the work that AV Engineering have done to this car. I feel like they've transformed it without me realising it needed a transformation. So huge thanks to Aldous and Ed. A few bits that they did which Aldous didn't mention in his piece to camera. Firstly, it gave me a switch for the exhaust, so I can have it constantly in shouty mode if I want to, or in a bit of a quieter mode when I'm cruising around London and things like that. So that's very helpful. Also, the sport mode button now goes from, instead of going from normal to sport, goes from sport to race. Challenge Stradale has only has a race button, it has no sport mode, so that kind of replicates that switch and of course makes things a lot racier, but it also stiffens up the suspension a lot, and with all the UK's roads being super bumpy and pothole filled, you don't really want that stiffer suspension. So I'll just put a little switch underneath the steering wheel, keeps the suspension in its softer setting even if you go into race mode. So that's really, really helpful, and all in all it's just better in every single way. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'm keeping all of my fingers crossed that in the weeks and the months ahead the world starts to get back to some kind of normality, or maybe a new normality, and I can start to think about places that I can take this car. But for now, I will continue to enjoy it in a sort of local, safe area. Plenty more content to come, do not worry. I'm trying to get this car out as much as I possibly can. But for now, give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it, and make sure you stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.